energy, prevent gas, air, and moisture infiltration, as well as helping with general stability in your building structure, call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
The program presented are submitted by members of our community and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM and its affiliates.
Good morning, and God bless you. We are having a fantastic and fearless Friday here at KNLY 91.1 The Boss, and I'm actually excited, and I'm always excited about our guests. But when God places people in your life and in your path, you know that it's something that He's ordained. And so my guest today, we're going to get over into the history of me and Mr. Cedric Keeler. And we're going to talk about not only all the things that he's been doing in the city of Houston and abroad, but also an event that he has coming this weekend that I'm just fortunate to be a part of. And our guest actually is not just Mr. Cedric Keeler. We have on the call Mr. Oscar Hines, who is actually going to be a part of this event. And so we're going to actually allow him the opportunity to join in. But Cedric, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
You know, before I do that, I just want to say thank you, brother. It's amazing. And as I told you off air, you know, this is fulfilling prophecy. You told me many moons ago that this would be manifested. And I'm just so humbled and so privileged and so pleasured to see your growth and to see how God is using you to transform the lives of so many. So this is a very humbling moment, and I don't want to take any seconds away from the 1,440 minutes that we have to miss out the opportunity to say that, you know, not only do dreams come true, but you are a living witness of the power that when we believe. And we truly know that we walk by faith, right, and not by sight. So I thank you for that, good brother. We have an opportunity, and Oscar's on the line. We have an opportunity to bless the lives of so many people this Saturday, and I'm so humbled and so grateful. And I feel the magnitude and the power of this event. It's going to change and transform lives. It's going to generate so much positivity and so much hope and optimism, which our people need right now. So many people are filled with angst, anger, and vitriol, so angry and so repressed, oppressed, and suppressed, that we need an opportunity to bless each other, come together with legends like the legendary Les Brown and then Oscar Hines, who's on the line, and you'll see in just a few moments how great he is, talking about the power of influence and being able to harness those powers for good and to create more opportunities, more success, and more blessings like yourself.
You know, when we consider the influence, I often tell people the word Basileia, when we pray the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. The word kingdom has to do, it literally means Basileia, having to do with influence. Amen. And so God has placed us all in position, not only to position others, but to have influence, and we can either use it for good or bad.
Correct.
But one of the key things that I think is of importance is when you have people like Oscar Hines, and I have yet had the pleasure to meet him, but I've had the opportunity to research and actually glean his bio and learn a little bit more about him. So I'm looking forward, Oscar, to meeting you. And then Les Brown is just legendary. He's legendary. And so when we consider, you know, how God positions us and places us in position just so that we can position other people.
Yes.
I want to give the testimony and not take too much of the time away, but I want to highlight, because people don't know when you talk about prophecy, the word prophetia means the mind of God being expressed. We met 3 years ago.
Yes.
And you walked in the barbershop, had never been there before, and I'm cutting your hair. And we're just literally having just general conversation. And you're taking notes, and I'm sowing seeds. And then you tell me, hey, man, I got a little show. We're going to get you on. Yeah. And that never happened. I think we spoke last year.
We have to make that happen.
When I was in New Orleans. I was in the transition between Atlanta and New Orleans, and I called you up just to see how you were doing. And I think you called me to get a cut for your kids.
Absolutely.
And
that was a good cut, I might add. You want to definitely hire that. You want a haircut,
but you know, God's timing is perfect.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we
Absolutely.
have to remember. I was just downstairs talking with my next guest and sharing with him. He actually has an online radio station with Blessed Beats. So I got two on-air personalities in the show today, in the building. And so, but being able to say to him, as well as with my last guest who just left, Mr. Ryan, that word meno, meaning to wait. And sometimes we want things to happen and occur in our timing, but
Right.
God has a time that's associated to prophecy being fulfilled. And so this event with Les Brown, Oscar Hines, yourself, myself, is just God's timing, and God knows how to put people in place. Barry, was
Absolutely.
the
The
actual,
conduit, yes,
that
yes,
God used the vehicle
yes.
to connect us, not knowing that we already knew
Already
each other.
yeah.
And so Barry, you couldn't be here, but we bless
She's
God
here in
for
spirit,
we
yeah.
bless God for just you being who you are and working in the networking, understanding how that works.
Absolutely.
Oscar Hines, I want you to be able to greet our listeners and our followers and be able to sow a seed in relations to influence.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. It is always a pleasure. It's always a treat when great people meet.
Absolutely.
Amen.
To quote the great Les Brown, we are going to be having quite an event, and I always like to start out. I know that as I listen to your conversation here, it's scripturally based, and I appreciate that. Jesus was called a great communicator. And part of that was that he communicated not only words, but he expressed feelings. And one of the things that I like to express to all of our listeners is that communication is a full contact sport. By that I mean that research has been done that indicates that only 7% of communication is actually verbal, the words that's coming out of our mouth. The other 93%, and if you stop and think about that, 93% of communication is nonverbal.
Wow.
So what is that other stuff, right? What is that stuff that we're not saying in words that we're somehow communicating by other means? See, that's what Ninja Communications is all about. What we do is the book that I published, Ninja Communications, The Art and Science of Influence, starts to take apart the anatomy of communication into the different nuances. So there's different things such as body language, handwriting analysis, energy frequencies. There is also areas of what we call emotional causation, which is a fascinating subject in and of itself that very few people have heard of. But, as a living, breathing organism, every cell in our body is a sentient being that has, in some respects, a consciousness. And so when we start operating at a really, truly profound level in communication, we start to understand that we're conveying messages. For an example, I did a radio show just the other day. We were talking about relationships between men and women. And I cited a study that was done right here in Texas at the University of Austin, where they had women who they picked a group of women, and half of the women were ovulating, and the other half were just, at the regular point in time of the month. They told them to not put on any perfumes or potions or lotions, simply to put on a T-shirt and sleep in it overnight. And then take that T-shirt in the morning, fold it up, put it in a Ziploc bag, and send it into the test group. And so they had a group of men who were standing by, and each man would be given a T-shirt to simply smell. And what was interesting was that an overwhelming 90% of the men that smelled the T-shirts cited that this would be an appealing woman for them. They were asked to smell the T-shirt, and just based on scent, decide if this would be an appealing woman. 90% of the men chose the women that were ovulating at that time.
Wow.
So there's something called, now we've heard of pheromones, many of us. There's something called chemosigns. Chemosigns, chemical signals that are being released, and these are on very subliminal levels that attract us. So almost 90% of attraction to the opposite sex is nonverbal expression, not just what we see visually or orally, but what we see visually and how we sense and feel that other person. So it's a fascinating subject.
Absolutely.
You know, I just recently had in our focus group meeting a few days ago about the importance of communication. And there's a Greek word called koinonia, the very reason in which God created us. It literally means communication, communion. It means being, partners and partakers. Right. Peculiar having to do with money. But when there's a breakdown across the board in communication, and I've often said that, just like Oscar communicated, that there are words or things being communicated when words aren't being expressed.
Correct.
And we have to not only be discerning, but we also have to know how to exemplify patience.
Correct.
Get to a place where we try to relate and understand, but most importantly, being able to verbalize, and then when we're not able to communicate verbally, learning the art, just like Oscar was communicating, or the science of being able to relate to whomever without discrediting one's ability to actually engage.
Correct. I love it. I love it. I love what you're alluding to, because I think especially it's apropos in this present time as we talk about the acrimony and how much division exists. People need to be able to listen with an open mind.
Correct.
And an open heart, and being able to connect with one another so that we can build those bridges. There was a study, and because Oscar alluded to a great study out of the University of Texas, I wanted to share this, is that there was once a waiter, and they studied that the waiter was able to give out a mint. You know how sometimes you get a mint after you get your meal, and they found that the tip increased by 3% when they gave one mint, and they said, thank you, I really appreciate you for allowing me to serve you. And then they gave an opportunity for that same waiter to give 2 mints, and it increased not double like most would think, it actually quadrupled to 14%. And when that same waiter looked at all of the patrons, smiled at them, gave them a warm feeling and vibration of love and connection with an open heart, open mind, and then said 1 mint, they sat down and then walked away and came back and said, because of the energy and the vibration and the positivity you gave me, I'm going to give you another mint. The tip increased by 23%.
Wow. Gary Chapman has a book called The 5 Love Languages, and
yes,
if you've never
that's
read
a great
it,
book.
I tell anybody, we still have to learn how to communicate, but learn one another's language. And oftentimes we misunderstand because we hadn't taken time out to understand.
Yes.
And we're so quick to respond to what we've experienced. And that's trial and error. And most of us are, creatures of habit, that if we've had a bad experience, that experience becomes the very thing that I can either be the catalyst or it can be the stronghold. And
that's our frame of reference.
Yeah. So when we allow that to take us out of, since we're on this influence, there are so many things that comes to not only distract us, but to take us out of our realm of influence by which we were all created. And so when God creates platforms like this Saturday, and he put people like you and Les and Oscar, and I'll just be there actually in the background working.
Oh no, you'll be playing a big part.
But everybody's part. We all play a big part in what God wants to do in the earth. Oscar, what could people expect on tomorrow? And I know you can't speak on Les's behalf, but people who don't know, the history or the legacy of him. But in regards to you, what could they expect from you?
Well, I will say this, Les and I are good friends, and we have been for several years. And for those who do not know Les Brown, Google him after this. Go on YouTube, and you'll find one of the most prolific speakers that has ever blessed this planet. Les is a motivational speaker that's been Googled over 2.5 billion times. That's 10 times more than any other organic search for any other motivational speaker anywhere. Wow. So it gives you some sense of the prowess that he has and the command that he has of the language. But specifically, what I like to say is Les and I are like yin and yang. And the reason I say that is not that we speak in opposite spheres. We're both speaking about communication, but what people can expect tomorrow is that Les is going to talk about speaking from your heart.
Yes.
And how you speak from your heart, you tell your story. When your story is compelling, when it's emotional, when it's engaging, you're going to move the person that's listening to you to action. And that's what he does better than anybody. Now, conversely, when I speak, I'm going to talk about how the heart speaks. So for those who are not familiar yet with my work, I'm a health and wellness practitioner. I'm a certified practitioner. I've worked with naturopathic doctors for a number of years. I'm certified in energy healing as well as different forms of wellness. I was once, and this will interest you, a trichologist. Do you know what a trichologist is?
Wow.
I'm asking.
No, I mean, I'm waiting on you to actually share. Listen, I'm waiting on you to share because
you know what I like to do with barbers and hairstylists. I like to ask them that question. So a trichologist is a hair and scalp doctor.
Wow.
So I used to analyze hair and scalp. Everything from alopecia to folliculitis and seborrheic dermatitis, all of that. So I say that to you just in a way of, just mentioning that we have that in common, since you do cut hair. But specifically, studied all of these different sciences and started to really understand that the heart speaks. So literally speaking, what the heart does, and many people don't realize this to be some research that's taken place. In our brain, we have, and I'm going to get a little nerdy for a minute, so if you'll indulge me, right? So in our brain, we have neurosynaptic firings. Neurons fire, that's what causes thought, that's what causes memory, that's how we connect ideas, by the neurosynaptic firings in the brain. What most people don't understand or realize is that the heart, the physical heart, has 40,000 neurons in them. So the heart literally has the same stuff that the brain has to think. So what I'm saying is that the heart literally has the capacity and is connected to the brain, and it is an organ that not only feels, but thinks. And so it's fascinating.
It's a lot of information.
Listen, Oscar, listen. For the sake of time, I'm going to stop you, not because we don't want to hear, but I want people to be excited about showing up. I'm already promoting on all of our platforms.
Thank you.
But also, I want people to experience you, not just on this event, but I want to connect with you and get you on the show, by which you're able to engage with our audience just from here. But I want to allow Cedric the opportunity to share the information. It's already on our page. It's already on all of my pages. But Ced has a show on Sunday, but I want him to give you Facebook, Instagram, phone number, anything that would help people not only be a part of this, but anything that you all are doing in the near future.
Absolutely. Oscar, I really appreciate you for sharing that information. And please, those out there listening, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what the information that he will be sharing and the other tidbits and the essential information that you will receive. This August 3rd, that's Saturday at 10:30 a.m. doors open, and we will be at St. John's Church, what we like to call Beyonce's Church, on Crawford Street in Houston, Texas. And for those who cannot make it live in the building, we are offering the live stream. So please get your tickets at OscarHines.com or NinjaTalks.com. Again, that's OscarHines.com, and you can use this special discount code because of Orlando and this wonderful show, Power Moves 2019. That's a capital P and a capital M for Power Moves 2019. We really appreciate you for listening, and we know that this will be not only transformative, but it'll be, as Oscar talked about, moving us into greater action, into greater efficiency, and being more effective with our time and our energy. So I just want to say thank you, Mr. Daniels, for being what you are being, and you are going to play a big part in letting people know that we are doing something that is going to manifest even greater opportunities for success.
It is Friday. Thank you, Mr. Oscar Hines. Look forward to tomorrow. Cedric Keeler being a part, and most importantly, our tech, Mr. Ivan, who's always patient.
Ivan the Great.
Listen, thank you all for tuning in to KNLY 91.1 to The Boss. This is Today's Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Orlando Daniels, and look for all the information is on our page. Look for it, be a part, and see what we're doing in the city this weekend. You all be blessed.
Yeah.